Hey, welcome everyone. Today we are doing the first session of our virtual speaker series. My name is Ali Shipman. If you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, feel free to do so. But today we welcome Dr. Tori Gilbert from the WVU CED, who will be discussing tips and tricks for using AAC devices to support your child. So welcome, Tori.
Hi, thank you. Um, as Alicia said, or Ali said, I am Tori Gilbert. I currently work at the CED as a training coordinator, but I also am a speech language pathologist by trade. And my love language is anything related to AAC. And so particularly, I enjoy working with kiddos and adults that need AAC devices or AAC supports. And I also really have a passion for working collaboratively with families and training caregivers. So I'm really happy to be doing this. Thank you for spending time with me today. Now, and or if you're watching this video in the future, thank you for logging in and spending time watching. Hopefully you'll get some good tips and tricks today. All right, so today we're going to talk about an overview of AAC. I know most people who are here today, as well as those who will be watching in the future, might have a different understanding of AAC based on what you've done in the past and what you're currently doing right now on your journey with AAC, or what you're going to be doing in the future. We'll also talk about the role of communication partners. So who are communication partners and what are the expectations for communication partners, as well as ways to integrate AAC at home and other environments, and troubleshooting some common problems. And I'll really hopefully have time at the end to open the floor to anybody who's here today to ask questions or comment or kind of share some troubles you're having, or even problems, and maybe we can solve those together. So we'll talk about that at the end. All right, so first we're going to talk a little bit about what is AAC. So we call it AAC because it's a lot easier to say than augmentative and alternative communication, but that is what it stands for. So AAC specifically is anything other than verbal speech. So the word augment means to add to, so we're adding to someone's speech. And then alternative refers to anything else other than speech, so an alternative. There are approximately 4 million children and adults in the US who are using AAC. So it is definitely something that is widely growing and more talked about now, which is great. And hopefully something that we talk about today will drive with what you're needing. So whenever we're looking at AAC, we're considering that this can be used across the lifespan. So really anybody from birth all the way through the end of life could benefit from AAC use. And it's likely that anybody in this room, has probably used AAC and didn't know it. And there are also no specific populations that use AAC. So sometimes it's misunderstood that, AAC is used for children with autism. Or AAC is used by individuals with Down syndrome, right? It's not based on a population. Anyone could benefit from the use of AAC, and not any one particular diagnosis would benefit from it. So anyone can use AAC. So let's talk a little bit about why we communicate, because that's going to really guide us in talking about some tips and tricks that you can use with AAC at home, as well as our communication partner expectations. So we communicate for a variety of reasons, and some of them are on the screen. This is by no means a large and extensive list, but generally we want to express our wants and our needs. We want to transfer information. So we just want to share or talk about something with others. Social closeness, so building relationships and being able to have social exchanges with friends and family. Social etiquette, so being able to respond to greetings or saying hello or goodbye or please and thank you. And then also communicating with oneself. So that's something that sounds silly, but throughout my whole day, I have a constant dialogue occurring in my head, and I'm I hope that I'm not the only one, or else there's maybe something I need to be doing. But I'm communicating with myself all day, right? I'm thinking about my schedule from the moment I wake up. I'm planning what I need to do and who I need to take care of, and what things I need to, pack to take with me to work, and then I'm doing the same thing throughout the day. So I'm kind of talking to myself in constant monologue in my head throughout the day. So we communicate with ourselves, whether we are saying it out loud or not. But there are many times that I do say things out loud when no one else is in the room with me. So we're communicating with ourselves too. Complex communication needs is going to be a term that I'm just going to discuss and introduce because it might be something that you've heard. So that just refers to whenever a person can't meet those daily communication needs through their current means of communication. So whatever they're doing currently to communicate is not meeting those needs, similar to the ones we have listed there on the left of your screen. All right, so now let's talk a little bit more about terms related to AAC. So still kind of an overview of AAC, and we'll talk about vocabulary. So bear with me on the vocabulary side. There's a lot of information to share with you today. And I was talking about this training, and I said that this could be a whole day of training or even a whole course. So I'm trying to make sure I put in the good information. So take what you need and leave what you don't. So here are some common ways that we communicate that are actually considered unaided AAC. Again, bear with me. I'll explain what unaided AAC means here in a moment. But unaided AAC generally is including these items. So body language, pointing or gesturing, guiding a person to an object or activity. So that would be if your child takes your hand and guides you to the refrigerator, right? So they're telling you, hey, I want something in that refrigerator, open it up. Or maybe they're guiding you to an object or their favorite puzzle or something that they need. Sign language could also be considered unaided AAC, and even spoken sounds. So not words put together in a full word or a full phrase or sentence, but spoken sounds. So in that way, we might think of environmental sounds like barking like a dog or doing a whistle or like a choo-choo train, right? So things that we hear in the environment that might be considered to be spoken sounds that are communicating something. So all of these examples are, again, unaided AAC. And what that means is it doesn't require equipment or external technology. And it's something that's other than speech that can communicate something. All right. So now on the opposite side, let's talk about aided AAC. Again, this is the first time we're mentioning this term. I'm going to revisit it in a moment and give you a specific definition, but I want to introduce it and we'll keep talking about it and building on it throughout the training. So aided AAC then would mean we have a tool. We are using some external thing or an aid to communicate. So there are different versions of aided AAC, and those are low tech, mid tech, and high tech generally. So we kind of split them into these different categories based on exactly what it sounds like. There's either no technology or just a little bit of technology within a low tech tool. In mid tech, we're saying there's a little bit more technology, but not really robust like a computer. And then in high tech, we're talking about those really high tech types of technology where they're functioning similar to a computer, a laptop, or a tablet. And I also like to mention that some AAC users are using a variety of unaided and aided AAC throughout their whole day. So you might have individuals who rely on body language, pointing, gesturing, sounds, and then also a mixture of low tech and high tech devices throughout the whole day. All right, so another term that you might hear is core vocabulary. So core vocabulary is, and this is an example of a high-tech AAC screen that you see here. It's called Proloquo to Go. So that's just an example of a screenshot there. Core vocabulary is the vocabulary that we use the most often. So core vocabulary words are used 80% of our day. So without even, you wouldn't necessarily know that if you're just, talking and not considering what you're saying. But I'm here to tell you that most of what you say is the same all day. So 80% of the words you use are core vocabulary. Those are those similar to the words you see here on the screen. So you've got your identifiers, your nouns, your verbs, and those words can be used multiple ways across the day to get something across to other people. So most often you're going to have, on the left there, you'll see the orange icons. I, you, me, we, he, she, it, right? So those are going to be the subjects of our sentence. And then we have the verbs, the actions, and then we have more specific examples on the right there with the green and the blue that are going to kind of describe, right? So describe things being in or out or on or off or good or bad. So there are different words that we use on this screen. And if you look at them, many of them can be put together to make a whole sentence. So you can say, I want it, or you could say, you want it, I like it, I want take off, I go on, I go off, I like go on and on, right? So we could make a lot of sentences just using this one main page. So that's core vocabulary. The other 20% is called fringe vocabulary. And it's not that you need to know this, but I want you to maybe understand a little bit better about why things are organized in this way, right? Like, why do you get a device or see a printed communication board or even have symbols printed? And why are they those? Why did we choose those? And it's because 80% of what we say are these words. So we start with these. The 20% that are fringe vocabulary are the specific categories that we use. And those are really particular to each person. It's individualized. So that's whenever you see at the bottom here, a lot of the folders. So the folders in this are kind of category based where you see people, things, food, places, actions. So when you click on those folders, it opens up into those respective categories. And those are where you'll find the fringe vocabulary. So those are going to be based on, again, individualized vocab based on your user or your child in this case. So the people that are in there are going to be your family members, their friends, their teachers, the people that they need. The things that are going to be included in the food are going to be the foods that they like to order, the foods that they like for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, their favorite snacks. Actions are going to be the actions that they enjoy, right? So we're going to have those personalized categories within those folders, and that would be their fringe vocabulary. So for example, if I have in my categories, I would have my family's names. So I'd have my husband, Donnie. I'd have my children, Ainsley, Ace, and Arden. I might have my dog, Dallas, who's a nightmare, right? So I might have them in these folders. And those are not going to be the same as anyone else. So it's very individualized and it should have specific information related to the user. All right. The next thing I'll say, this isn't necessarily a definition or a term, but it's something I really want everybody to be aware of. And it's not something that is, I guess, educated very often for families or caregivers, and that would be color coding. So when you look at an AAC device or even symbols or pictures or a communication board, they usually have a color theme. And if you normally wouldn't know why they are certain colors. You're just like, oh, this person likes to use pink a lot, you know. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason for the colors. There are two very common color coding keys that we use. There's the modified Fitzgerald key, which you'll see on the right here in the picture. And the colors represent a grammatical function. And so whenever you see a symbol that is outlined with the color blue, that would be an adjective. If it's outlined with green, it's a verb. If it's outlined with yellow, it's a pronoun. Outlined with orange, it's a noun, and so on. So there's a reason that those are color coded. As somebody is learning new words, vocabulary, and an organization of kind of where those are in an AAC, it is important for them to learn those categories. So whether we explicitly tell them that, hey, this is where you're going to find those colors, or if we just learn it over time, they're going to notice, hey, if I need I, you, me, he, we, she, it, it's going to be orange. So immediately I'm going to look for orange. Then that's what they're going to use it. Or that's how they're going to use it rather. So another example of that would be the Goossens, Crane, and Elder. And it's very similar in that it's grammatically organized. It's just got a little bit of a different color code. And then other devices and companies make up their own. And I don't know why. They just do. And so I can't explain the reasoning why. They just make up their own things, right? So this is not something that is meant to be like, it's not meant to be memorized and known. So for example, I've been doing this for 12 years. I don't know which companies or which softwares use a certain color code. Okay, I can look at it and say, oh, that's the modified Fitzgerald key, or I can look it up and say which devices use certain keys. I don't have that memorized, and I don't expect anybody to memorize it. But the reason I share it is very important, and it's because if you are a family member who is adding words to a system, or if you're a teacher adding words, or if you're a speech therapist adding words, we can't just create a symbol or add a symbol onto an AAC device without matching the color coding system, because that would be really confusing if we added a symbol that was for, let's say run, because you have a kid who loves to run, but you make it orange because his favorite color is orange. We're very well meaning. He loves the color orange and he loves to run, so let's make it orange. But now that's a noun. Okay, and so that doesn't match, and so it might be confusing for your user. So it is very important to think about. And if you're adding symbols to a device or printing new pictures that need a color code, it's important to know what code already exists, and then ask your SLP for some assistance if you're not sure which color code it needs to go with, or Google it. Just kind of look it up. Just something to keep in mind, because you don't want a device to get really confusing based on the color code if you're not following it. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so more terms to remember. I'm going to break these down a little bit further on the next couple of slides, but just to start out, common terms that you're going to hear based on AAC, and this could be for any type of AAC. The first one is symbol, and that is a representation of something, right? So a representation of an object, a person, a picture, a line drawing, a hand gesture, etc. So symbols could be a variety of representations. It's just meant to mean or represent something, okay? Access technique. This is how a message is put together. So for a communication partner to understand a message, the user, the AAC user, has to put it together. And so the options for putting together a message are direct selection and indirect selection. I'll talk more about that in a moment. Just pause on it. And then aided communication is those high-tech types of technology, and mid-tech and low-tech. So that's where we'll talk about those aided or assistive devices that you might see a little bit more of. And I'll show you some more examples and what that means. Okay, so here are some examples of symbols. And in the symbols that you see on the screen, there are a couple of different ways to represent, and this is not, again, the only way to represent. So you'll see examples at the top here. The top left one is another Prolo Quo symbol set. So you'll see that this is either a core board that you could print and use, or it might be the screen of like an iPad. And then the top right, these are board maker symbols. Again, very similar. They're like line drawings or cartoonish, but they represent some symbols. The top left, you'll see that the symbols have a line drawing as well as the word, and that's by choice. So you can have those that way, or you can leave them as you see them on the right with no word at the top. And so again, very similar, just a little different. I don't know if can you guys see my pointer when I'm pointing? Can you see my pointer, Allie? No, okay. I wanted to point. Let me find my pointer. Laser pointer. Now, can you see my pointer? Nice. Okay. So you'll see the difference here. I wanted to just point out. So the top left here is the Prolo Quo example. So you'll see here, this says want, right? So there's like a little line drawing of the person reaching out for the box, and it says the word want at the top. So that is the Smarty symbols type of, or symbol sticks rather, version of want. If you look over here on the right, this is also the same symbol for want, but it's a board maker symbol. So different types of symbols. And you'll notice based on your AAC device, it's going to look different. They're similar, right? Like if you look at them, maybe if you're not an SLP, you wouldn't notice like, oh, that's a different symbol set. But they're different, very similar, but different. And some AAC users prefer one version over the other, but the symbols still mean the same thing. So here's the version of want for symbol sticks. Here's the version of want for board maker. I think there's another one here. So here's the symbol sticks version of drink, the little line drawing with the person taking a drink. And then here's the version of drink for board maker over here. Okay, so again, very similar, but just represented differently. Here's like with a little line drawing of the heart. And this represents yes or like on board maker. Okay, so again, if you looked at this yellow blob with a smiley face, you might not know what that means. Depends on personal preference. And maybe a kiddo or adult could learn that that meant happy, yes, or like. Down at the bottom, these are more symbols. So the sign for mom, ASL sign language for mom. Here is the board maker symbol for mom, or here's a photograph of mom. Whenever we have a photograph, typically that would be an actual photo of mom. So normally when we get a new device or we're printing new pictures for a device, we would snap a picture of mom. So get ready, moms. We'll just snap your picture with the device and upload it. So that way it's represented with the photograph that is needed to represent mom. So these are all different examples of symbols and the ways that we can represent. Another example would be if we use objects. So I don't want to discount objects. There's a lot of power to using an object as a symbol too. So you might, if we're not using a high-tech AAC device, like with the pictures you see on the screen, you can also use an object. So for example, if we wanted a drink, we might use the child's favorite cup. So that could represent drink. Or we might use a wrapper from their favorite snack, and that can represent food or snack, or that they want that specific snack for some. So you can also use objects. Okay, so access technique. I mentioned the two options earlier, and I think I am going to have time to show the videos, so I'll show those next. There are different access techniques. The direct selection access technique means a user is directly selecting a symbol with usually their body parts, right? So in this way, we can use a finger, we can use a hand, so we could use like a whole hand to touch something. We could use a toe, we could use eye gaze, so literally using your eyes to look at the screen and select something that is still direct selection, even though you're not touching it, to communicate a message. So again, direct selection could be used on a switch, which we'll look at in a moment. It could be used on a high-tech AAC device. It could be used to indicate an object. Okay, anything could be selected via direct selection whenever we're using our body. So everybody has a different way to access their devices. And what I mean by access is touch or put together a message. So, and I don't know who we have in the room, but depending on your relationship with AAC, you likely have a different type of selection that you're using to access, or your child is. The indirect selection is whenever a user doesn't use their body to touch or access the device directly. So in that way, we're usually using a set of switches. Like you'll see in the little drawing below there, we have a kiddo who has the red button on his chair tray there, and he could use that to select a symbol on the device. And I'm going to show you specific examples of the difference between direct selection and indirect selection in the videos that are coming up next. All right, let's hope this works, and I'm going to turn it up. All right, so this is an example of direct selection using eye gaze. And I'm going to, if I can.
This is what we call an eye gaze system, which basically consists of a normal computer and a camera. And what happens is the camera can look at his eyes and know where on the computer screen he's looking. There's two infrared lights on the front of his computer, and the camera looks for the reflection of this light off his eyes, and from there can work out using mathematical made up of lots of different cells. Each cell might have different words on it, different pictures, different letters, anything he likes, he'd have hello, please, thank you, a whole sentence. And if he looks at each cell for a specified amount of time, say 1.5 seconds, once he stared at it long enough, the computer will know he selected that cell and it will then speak for him. If he's looked at the hello cell for a second, it will then speak hello for him. And that's basically how it works.
Yesterday night I saw my auntie.
Right. Fantastic. And do anything special?
Dad and my brother's out.
So your dad, your mum and your brothers went out. But you with your auntie. Is that right? Wow.
Okay. So you can see in that example, it was showing that he was putting together a phrase or a sentence. And so as he's putting together that phrase or sentence, he's selecting each individual symbol on the device with his eyes, using his eye gaze. And then after he puts the whole sentence together, he chooses the speak button and it says the whole sentence. And so this little guy has CP, or cerebral palsy. And so he's able to put together his sentences and words using his device and eye gaze. So that's one example of direct selection. Again, any other way that somebody is accessing a device using their body parts would be direct selection. Another really cool example, if you have time after this, you can go look it up. He calls himself Mr. Big Toe, and he uses an Accent 1000, and he puts it down on the ground. He also has CP, and he constructs all of his phrases, sentences with his big toe, quite literally. So anything can be used as direct access if you have that movement. So a lot of times a part of an AAC eval is seeing what motor we have, what movement we have, and where's our most consistent use of our body so that we can access those devices. All right, here's another example. This is going to be a switch access example. And I want you to pay attention to it takes time, right? So this video is a little longer and we're patient in watching him go through the steps. In order for him to use the switches to select a word within this video, he's going to use one switch that's on the side to scan through, which you'll see. So it's going to highlight the symbols as he steps through. And then whenever he's on what he wants to choose, when he sees the word that he likes, he's going to use the other one to select. So that's step scanning, where he's going to like push through until he gets to what he wants and then use the other one to select. So it takes a lot of time and effort. And then once he selects it, he'll be able to do the same thing that you saw on the previous video, and he'll speak the whole word or sentence.
So Trevor was telling us a story about, and Stacy too, his speech therapist, was telling us a story about how last week when Stacy's student was here, she was working with Trevor, and Trevor decided to ask for the student's phone number. And so what you're going to see is Trevor doing that same thing again using his device. So go ahead, Trevor. Start that scan for us.
Block 1.
What do we wait? We want block 2 for about me, remember?
Block 2. Block 3.
Oops.
Block 4. Block 1.
There you go.
Block 2.
Got back to it.
Something's wrong.
We want to talk about that's what we're listening for.
About me. Oh.
Nice job. Okay, so we want to ask a question. I think the questions are in block 3. You're getting there.
Block 1.
You're getting there. Block 3 is where your questions are.
Block 2.
going.
Block 4.
Uh-oh. Go back through to block 3.
Block 1.
Good.
Block 2.
Yes.
Block 3.
There it is.
Your name,
Okay, what question did you want to ask?
brother or sister? Birthday. Your teacher?
No.
That's not fun, huh?
Your phone number? What's your phone number?
Is that what you asked her for?
Did.
Nice word.
All right, so again, you'll see in that example a little bit different as well as far as accessing the device to make it speak what you want it to speak. But you'll see there in that example, that's indirect, that we're using switches to control the device to put together the message.
Yes.
Okay, so for aided communication, this we've talked about now. I think we've mentioned it 3 times. I told you we'd keep bringing it back up. These are the different examples that I was talking about earlier: no or low tech, mid tech, and high tech. So you'll see on the examples on your screen, the no tech options over here are the ones that have no technology or low technology. So no technology is the example with the PEX book. So you see a PEX book down here that stands for Picture Exchange Communication Symbols or System, but we call it PEX for short. This is whenever we are using a picture to exchange for a message. And obviously there's no technology involved, but it is aided communication because we're using the tools to communicate. The low tech options are commonly switches. That's low technology being there's a little bit of technology, but it doesn't do something super complex. So you'll see different examples of switches on here. There are simple red ones. The most common ones are going to be these ones. They're Big Mac switches. Those are the red ones you see. They can be used to control the environment, or they can be used to speak a message. So some of them have a recorded message, and when you push the button, it'll speak just one word or phrase. And some of them can speak a variety. So some of them have like different messages stored. So when you push it, it could speak a different message. And then others are going to control toys. For example, if you have switch adapted toys, that can be used to turn the toy on or off. These ones are all different examples of similar switches that you have to touch with a hand, a foot, a toe, a head, body part, any body part to activate. These are bubblegum switches, so they're a little bit smaller. And then we also have different switches at the bottom. They're kind of smaller to see there. But we have things that are small, like this is like the size of a pulse ox if you go to the doctor's office, right? And it's just a small touch, so you can use like a finger or a toe to access that one. We also have things called like sip puff switches. So if someone doesn't have the ability or motor function to use any digits or feet, hands, etc., then they could use their mouth to either sip, so literally like a straw, you sip, and it can be used to turn something on, or you can puff, which is whenever you blow. So if you blow into it, it could control the environment as well. So again, turn on or off something, or control a tool that you're trying to access with a device. We also have proximity switches, which means you don't have to actually touch it, but if you can just come near it within proximity, then it would turn it on or off or access something. So while it's low tech, it's still really cool that it can control the environment and be used to communicate as well. Those switches, like you saw in the previous video with Trevor, can also be used to control high-tech devices. So while they might be low tech by themselves, you can use them to connect to high-tech devices and then control them to create a message. The mid-tech option, like you see here in the middle, this is the GoTalk 20. The GoTalk 20 that you see here, it's called the GoTalk 20 because it has 20 symbols on it. So not anything too surprising there. So with these types of devices, you usually have to print and laminate pictures or symbols that you would like to use for the mid-tech device. And then you would take out the pictures and replace them whenever you want to change them. So you can see right here on the side, there's like a little tab. You could pull out the picture and then change them to whatever you wanted and put them back in. This is mid-tech because along with the pictures you see here, you can record. So this is a record button. You could hold that down and then speak whatever the word is meant to represent. And then whenever someone pushes that button or touches it, it would speak the word. So very similar to the idea of a high-tech device, but not as high-tech, not as costly. And it's a little bit more limited because you can't have as much vocabulary. You just can't fit it all on there. So you're limited to that 20 messages. Some of them also have steps. So you'll see right here, there's a 1 through 5. It's kind of hard to see, but that means there are 5 different levels. So in that way, we can take out the page for, level 1 and replace it. And that would be level 2. Take it out, put in new pictures for level 3, take it out, put in new pictures for level 4, take it out, put in new pictures for level 5, and it will store and record all of those messages. So then anytime you have to put in a new page for something, you don't have to re-record all of your messages. So mid-tech serves a great purpose, and it can definitely be a great start or a perfect fit for somebody who only needs that amount. High-tech is the example you see over here on the right side. These are whenever we're using tablets such as iPads or high-tech speech generating devices from device companies such as Pranky Rummet Company or Tobii Dynavox. That's not the only two, it's just 2 of the most popular. And so those are the dedicated devices that we'll talk a little bit more about. And you'll see the symbols on the screen. These ones have a ton of symbols on them, but they can start very simple with just like 2 symbols on the screen or even 1 symbol on the screen. All right. I guess I should say also, sorry, with the high-tech devices, you saw the previous examples of the individuals using them. They also function just like a computer, just like a laptop. They have a hardwired system. They connect to the internet, and they can also control the environment. So you can connect these to internet, and you can connect them to emails so people can send emails. They can be used to control the environment, turn on TVs, turn off TVs, turn volume up, turn volume down. So it can also be used as an environmental control for an individual who wants to use one of these devices. All right. So now we're going to shift away from AAC information and background and move into communication partners and kind of tips and tricks in what to do in different environments. So communication partners, I like the term communication partners because it covers everyone that an AAC user could come into contact with. So who is a communication partner? Everybody. Everyone's a communication partner. When we're particularly talking about AAC, we're talking about families, parents, caregivers, siblings, the speech language pathologist you're working with, any other therapist you're working with, teachers, aides, physicians, et cetera, right? Anyone that you can think of who would come into contact with your child is their communication partner. And I like to explain that because there's an expectation that the communication partner is talking to the AAC user, right? They're talking to them, not always to you or their partner or whoever the AAC user has, along with them at that time. So communication partners, there's a whole other training for communication partners specific to professionals and things, and we could go days and days talking about those trainings. But for today, just know that anyone who comes into contact with your AAC user is a communication partner. And hopefully they will also interact with them with their own expectations. So here are a couple of examples. I apologize. The next couple of slides are going to have a good bit of words on them. I don't love to put tons of words on slides, but it's information I want you to know and have. And so hopefully it'll be helpful in the future. If I share the PowerPoint, you guys can have the text to go back and review. So here are just different things to consider about the roles of communication partners. Parents and families are the experts in all things about their children. They're knowledgeable about the child's likes, dislikes, medical history, strengths, just everything, right? Everything that makes them them. They advocate for their child. They're the ones who know what's their best interest and what it is that they are striving to do to achieve goals. And they also are the ones who collaborate with every other communication partner, right? So, and that's a lot to handle, right? Like you guys are doing all the things. And I don't mean that you're the only one who collaborates with everyone else, because I personally am trying to change that. We want the AAC team to include everyone who's working with a child. It's not always very easy for everyone to communicate effectively, especially when we're in different environments. But in general, the families are the ones who are relaying the information, right? Back and forth from therapist to teacher to other families to, whoever it is they're talking to. You guys are the ones who are the keepers of the information. The SLPs, they're the experts in speech, language, and social communication. They're knowledgeable about AAC generally, especially if you have SLPs who are really passionate and interested in AAC. They consider competencies related to language. So in our minds, we're thinking about language, we're thinking about next steps, we're thinking about functional language and what you need to communicate within your environment. And we also consider support that families need and other therapists might need and teachers might need so that they can integrate AAC across those environments. So hopefully we're able to provide support and suggestions for those areas. The teachers are the experts in curriculum and state standards. They teach to their curriculum, whatever curriculum that they're following, and they integrate AAC and communication opportunities in the classroom. And they're also focusing on behavior management in the classroom. So there are different roles that they play whenever you look at everybody across the board. Again, these are only 3 examples. There are so many other people. I could add physician, I could add any other therapist, right? OT, PT, whatever other therapists you have in your team. I could add siblings, right? And what they add, because siblings have a whole other connection with their other siblings, right? So it's completely different. So we could add on to this list forever and ever, but this is a good start for initial people who are on your team. While we're talking about teams, this is my biggest alert to families, caregivers, professionals, whoever you are. Make sure you identify the people who make changes to AAC systems. You have to find those people. Who are those people? And what I mean by find them is identify them and make sure the whole team knows. What you don't want is every person who's a communication partner getting into a device or printing pictures or putting new words on a communication board without talking to everybody, okay? Because then your poor child is going to be so confused about the changes that are being made, because when we're in OT, we're adding these symbols, but when I go to speech, we take those symbols away. And when I'm in the classroom, teachers moving my symbols around, right? We don't want everybody having their hands in a device and making changes, because that's causing massive confusion for your kiddo if things are being moved around and disappearing and coming back and moving locations, right? In that way, the communication partners are making the AAC device more about them and less about the child. So we have to make sure we know who those people are. There need to be people making changes to the device, because there are always going to be times when we need new words added, new words that we're learning in school, new words that we're learning at home, new vocabulary, whatever it is that needs to be added. And there also might be a time where there's a word that is in the device, but it's not the word the child uses to represent something, right? So there are going to be times that you absolutely have to change it. So what I suggest is identifying a person at school, right? Whether that's the teacher or the SLP, a person who can do changes. Parents, you can always do changes. That's yes, 100%. And if you don't feel comfortable making those changes, your SLP can walk you through the steps of how to change it and what to do. Happy to help with that. I couldn't just make that suggestion today because I don't know what AAC device you have, what program you're using or anything like that, but work with your SLP and they can show you how to make those changes. And then outside of that, with parents and at school, of course, if you have an outpatient therapist, speech therapist, then that would be great. They can make the changes, but everybody needs to be on the same page. Okay, that's just kind of my caveat. Happy to answer questions or talk more about that later, but alert, figure out who those people are. All right, so general strategies. These are just kind of like tips and tricks that you should be using all day long. So these are things that it doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, what activity you're doing, you should be doing these things. The first one is device availability. That thing should be available all the time. We should have it everywhere. It should be at home, it should be at school, it should be on the playground, it should be at the doctor's office, it should be at the library. everywhere in the car. It should be everywhere with you. And always having it available. So we really, we don't want it to be up on a shelf or in a closet, right, where we can't reach it. We want it to be somewhere that your child can get to it and access it on their own if they need it. The next one is honor all forms of communication. So even though this discussion is about AAC and we're really wanting you to use AAC, we want to honor any communication so that it's not frustrating to your child. So if they're using a gesture or a sign or a picture or their communication device, honor that, especially if you understand it, right? There's nothing worse than your child pointing directly to their cup, which means I'm thirsty or I want to drink. And you're like, hold on, we need to say that on our device. And then you go in and you make the multiple steps to choose drink and then say drink. Because they pointed right to the cup, you know they wanted cup, give them the cup, right? So it's okay, they're not always using the communication device. In that case, I would recommend, oh, you want your cup or you're thirsty or you want a drink, and then model it on the device. It doesn't mean that you're gonna say, hey, hold on a second, you go do it on your device. You're gonna say, oh, you're thirsty, here you go, give them the cup, and then model it on the device. So they're like, oh, that's where I can find the word drink, cup, whatever it is. Respond to communication and communication attempts. So always responding to an attempt, whether that is the gesture, the sign, the picture, the communication device. When you notice that they're trying to communicate with you, give them that reciprocal communication. So acknowledge it and talk to them, right? Talk back or try to help them to express themselves. And it's really difficult. There's this barrier outside of every other barrier that AAC users have and run into. There's a barrier that it's hard to get people's attention, right? So a lot of times if I need someone's attention, for example, my husband, if I need to talk to him, I'm going to say, hey, Donnie, or I'm going to say Donnie to get his attention and then talk. So I know they have my attention, right? Especially my kids too. I'm going to say, Ainsley, 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 maybe 25 times before she answers, but I'm going to get her attention and then I'm going to say what I need to say. That's tricky for an AAC user because they might be communicating or trying to communicate, but they're having difficulty in getting attention from a communication partner. So really being able to notice when they're trying to communicate and then showing them how to get your attention, right? And that could be a noise, it could be a sound, a word they have, or you can show them on their device how to say, hey, like there could be a button that says, hey, or a lot of times I prompt people to use the symbol for look. So if you teach them look, then that means look at me and I need to tell you something. So making sure you respond and giving that attention to them. And then communication strategies. These 4 communication strategies down here at the bottom, those are things that you should be doing all the time during any activity, the best things that you can do. So I think I have like a little box. So these are the 4 things that you can do all day long across any activity. Modeling without expectation means that you are using that device, modeling that use of the device, modeling on a separate device, modeling on a picture, whatever it is, you're modeling all day long. And what I mean by without expectation is they don't have to do it back, right? So that's kind of, it's not a new thing by any means, but it's definitely a push in the AAC world right now that we want to model without expectation, because something we hear so often, and I'm speaking for speech language pathologists, so I apologize to any of the speech language pathologists in the room if you disagree. Something I hear constantly is they just don't want to use it. They just don't use it. We've tried, they're not interested. They don't want to do it. They might need tons of extra processing time. They might need lots of time. Maybe you're modeling it and you model it once or twice and you're like, oh, they're not doing it. No way, Jose. Go back out there and you model that 100 times and then randomly they might do it, right? So we model without expectation. And sometimes, especially with kiddos with autism, they might not be looking directly at the device and watching you do it. They might be next to you, right? Parallel. And you might think they're not paying attention, but they are. They're listening, they're watching in their peripheral, right? They see what you're doing, they're listening. And sometimes they might even have their back to you, but I'll be darned, they're listening to what you're doing. Modeling it, again, no expectation that they do it right after you, but just keep modeling, model, model, model. And then eventually they might just randomly pick a day to do it on their own. Okay, so model without expectation. The next one is use of wait time. We are impatient communicators, most of us, right? And what I mean by that is we don't like blank space. So when we're talking back and forth with someone, if there's ever a break in communication where there's silence, someone feels the need to fill it, right? And so a lot of times what that results in is us not waiting long enough for an AAC user to process and then create their message. So we've got to give them plenty of time to create. And you saw in those videos before, it takes time and just literal patience to wait for them to create their message. So make sure you provide that and don't fill the space, because now you're asking more questions when they're already putting together an answer or a phrase or a sentence, but now they feel like there's something else they need to comment on or answer. So give them that extra time and just sit quietly. Communication opportunities. I'm going to talk about some opportunities and how you can make opportunities at home. But overall, just provide communication opportunities throughout the day. Include them in all of your routines, and include those communication opportunities and have them chime in on things all day long using their device. And then least to most prompting. That means support them as much as they need support to use their device. And if they, so that could be like, hey, I'm going to help you touch it. So hand over hand, like I'll help guide you to it. I might point to it. I might say something verbally, hey, touch this. I might model and, just show you visually how to do it. Or I might just say, oh, use your talker, right? A variety of different things, but trying to be the least intrusive as possible. So trying to just model and visually support them as much as you can without making them use it. Okay. All right, so now we're going to get into the part where I'm going to talk about what you can do at home. And I'm going to give you 3 different things to consider. And then I'm going to talk about specific activities and give you ideas for how to use AAC in activities you do every day. So at home, first thing I want to talk about is making it a part of the day. So be consistent as possible while using the AAC device. Use visual schedules and social stories to help teach when to use it. So I don't know how familiar anyone in the room is with social stories, but you can make your own social stories, or you can find some online, and it'll explain, what the device is and when to use it or how to use it, and different ways to kind of explain to your kiddo, if it's a new thing, why we're using it and kind of how to use it. So that can be helpful. Model and use vocabulary that's appropriate for the child. So use words that they're interested in, not only academics. So I see that in schools a lot of times. The talker or the communication device might be hanging out somewhere in the room, but we're not using it during playtime, or just like, enjoyable moments of the day. We're pulling it out to work on academics. So we're pulling it out to work on colors, matching numbers, shapes, etc. And so the kiddos are like, I don't want to do that. I want to use it to talk. This is my voice. I don't want to do academics all the time. So making sure that we're using that with their interests, because it's their voice. So it's got to be their interests, their specific words that you're using. And then also use words that are matching what they're doing, or what they want, or what they're asking for. And again, that's where you can individualize it, because what you use for one word might be different than someone else. So a simple example would be, for me, like if you have a picture of a dog, some kids might call it dog. Other kids might not really make the connection to dog unless it's a picture of their actual dog with the dog's name. So make that very specific for your kiddo. The next one, again, model without expectation. Use short, regular practice times throughout the day to target new vocabulary if you need to. Some kiddos might not need that, but others, if you're like, hey, here's this word that he constantly is wanting and is saying all day long. So let's sit down and let me show him, model where that is on the device and see if we can actually practice where that's at. And there are many ways to do that. Again, work with your SLP on introducing new vocabulary and kind of practice that based on whatever your SLP is telling you is going on. Okay, the next one is make it fun and engaging. So again, it should be really something that's interesting to the kiddo. It should be him or her using their voice during their interests and during their fun, their games. So use interactive activities, use songs, use games, use role play that incorporate the use of the device or incorporate movement. And I'll talk about specifics here in a moment, but that's just generally use it throughout the day with movement and fun. Use motivating activities. That is their preferred activity. That could be Play-Doh, that could be cars, that could be puzzles, that could be watching videos. I'll talk about that in a minute. It could be whatever it is they're interested in. Demonstrate ways to use AACs for a variety of reasons. This is something we kind of get stuck in, is only using AAC to request. So I'm only using it to request something. I want food, I want drink, I want whatever it is, whatever toy it is. Or, hey, here's your choices. We have a choice of 6, which one do you want? Or here are 2 choices, which one do you want? We're only requesting. So try to step outside of that and use it to talk just like you would talk to anyone else in your space, or even your own self in your head. You can label things, you can make choices, you can ask questions, you can make comments, you can joke. I encourage you to joke, because kids think jokes are funny, right? Fart noise is hysterical. So think about what makes them laugh and what's funny to them, and use that. And then also getting attention, like I said. So think about those different functions of communication that we talked about in the beginning, why we communicate, and then talk through what words you might use, and you can look at their device and what they have available, and then think about what words you want to put together to do that in your space. All right, and then the last one before we talk about some different activities you can do, creating opportunities. So I mentioned we talk about that more. So how do you create an opportunity for communication, right? So the first one is providing prompts and cues if it's needed. Some people don't need it, like I said, but you can verbally say, tell me, or touch, whatever the symbol is. You can use a verbal model of the words that you want them to say on the device. So I could say, I like ice cream, right? And that's because we're eating ice cream. I say, oh, I like ice cream. And then maybe they say, I like ice cream. Fill in the blank statements. So a good example of that would be like, ready, set, and then you don't say it, right? So like that fill in the blank, you're gonna leave it empty and let them fill in the blank. And that's great for just any language development in general. Visuals, you can model symbols on the device or on the communication board. You can point to them. You can use a pointer or point to a symbol. Like there are those sticks with a finger on the end. You can use one of those. Or you can hold an item in view and have them label it, right? Or say, is this what you want? And then they can answer. The next one is responding to all communication attempts, not only with the AAC device. Honor all forms of communication if you understand their meaning, like we mentioned earlier. Encourage the use of the device with all of your family and friends, not just the caregivers. So make sure siblings don't feel like they can't interact too. Let them get interactive and also be a part of the journey. And friends, right? So socially, this is really important that other kiddos are seeing AAC devices. They're aware of AAC. They know that they need to wait because someone's trying to say something to them, and let them interact with them. I think it's best if they don't think it's like scary, like, oh, I might break it. I'm afraid to touch it. I don't know what to do with it. Educating other peers on AAC can be really powerful. And then work with your SLP to develop specific goals for home based on your needs. So please, please, please share what it is that you need at home and what your goals for your child are. Not just we looked at the roles earlier, not just our competency minds, right? We're stuck in language world, thinking outside of that and what functions you need for language in the device at home. So make sure you share that. All right. So before we hop into these activities that I love to use at home, other things that you can use for general tips, find a device parking spot, right? Where you plug it in. So make sure it's in a consistent spot so the child knows where they can go to find it and they know where it's charging. Let the SLP or whoever it is who's doing your modifications on your device know if anything is wrong with it as soon as you notice a problem. Sometimes parents and caregivers might be scared they're going to break it if they try to do something with it. We can usually back up the device, which is another suggestion on here, so that any changes that are made that like seemingly wipe out the whole device, we can fix. So don't panic about any of that. Just let us know if anything is wrong and we can try to fix it. Communicate with the care team, the teachers, and the therapists as much as possible about successes, like, yay, we did this thing and it worked and they loved it. So then we can carry that over and continue that positive interaction with it. And also difficulties, things that are not working or things that went like terribly wrong. let us know so that we can also kind of troubleshoot those together. Back up the vocabulary for major changes. There are tons of YouTube videos on how to do this, especially for specific types of devices, because it's different for everyone. But you can save, in general, a very quick overview, you can save the settings for a user on a device, which means that however the screen is laid out with symbols on it can be downloaded and saved. So that if anything goes wrong, or the device breaks, or for any reason it's technology, it doesn't always work. If it breaks, you can just download it and then upload it onto a new device and it'll be the same, so that we don't have to try to remember what it looked like, reprogram it exactly how it was, because that would be so frustrating. So we can save it and back it up. And then request staff training when your child enters a new daycare or school environment. Depending on your kiddo's age, I don't know exactly where everybody is on their journey, but you can request training for a child's staff or the education, wherever you are, whatever school or learning area your child's in right now on their journey. You can ask for the staff to get training in AAC. A lot of different SLPs will do that for their own school. So if you have an SLP in school, then the school SLP can provide that training to the teachers, aides, staff, librarian, musician, teachers, gym teachers, etc. So ask for that, because that's something that can absolutely be done, and should be done, in my opinion. And then in daycares too. So daycares might be a little bit more difficult because they don't have an SLP on hand, but there are people like myself and the WVU CED who offer trainings, and so we're happy to help as much as possible. All right, here we go. These are activities that you can do at home. So if you have an AAC device or an AAC system, whatever that looks like, low, mid, high tech, these are ideas for you to integrate the AAC into your house. The first idea is to look through a family photo album. This would be great, especially for that fringe vocabulary when we're looking at those categories of like, okay, where do we find mom, dad? Where's your siblings picture? Where is your dog, right? So look at the photo album, flip through it, and then find those individual family members within the device. If you're not to the point where you have that much vocabulary and you're not naming people in the device yet, you can still go through the photo album, and as you're going through it, you can say like, I see, and then point to the mom, or you can just say see mom, or you can just touch the symbol for like, because I like my mom, right? So you can do a variety of things with vocabulary. Just be very creative in what you're doing and look through the pictures. If you don't have a photo album, because I'm horrible at printing pictures, you can use your phone, right? Pull up your phone and go through some recent pictures that your mom just took and talk about them. Look at them on your phone and discuss them that way. The next one is read books or magazines together. Again, magazines are kind of like on their way out, but books are fantastic. So you can talk about the characters or the people that you're reading about. You can talk about the color of their clothes. You can talk about if they have long hair or short hair. You can talk about the color of their eyes. You can talk about where they are in the story, like locations or places in that category folder. You can describe the images, or you can even, if we're further along in our story with reading and literacy, we can talk about personal stories that relate to it. Another great idea is, especially for early language learners, is repetitive books that say the same thing over and over again, or books without words. Call me crazy. My favorite thing as a speech language pathologist is a good book without words in it. And the reason is because you can go through the book, and as you're going through the book, you can be creative and make it whatever you want. You can describe and talk about what's in it, like I was saying. You can describe the different things that you're seeing in the book. You can come up with your own problems and your own solutions. And you can do whatever you want with it. It's just so creative. One of my favorites is Goodnight Gorilla, which is the picture that you'll see right there. And then there are two more below. So Chalk and then A Ball for Daisy. Those ones are great. My favorite is Goodnight Gorilla, and it goes through the story of like a zookeeper walking through and shutting down the zoo. And as he's going through and shutting down the zoo, he's locking up all of the cages, but there's a monkey behind him with his keys unlocking all of the cages. And so he's going through and unlocking the cages, and all of the animals are coming out. And at the very end, the zookeeper goes home, which is conveniently right across the street from the zoo. He walks home and all of the animals follow behind him. And then it shows like him going to bed and saying good night, and then all of the animals saying good night, 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 and then saying, all the animals are here. So as you're going through that, the book has so many opportunities for words. Like you can say, uh-oh, because we're opening all of the doors. You can say out because the animals are coming out. You can say, I mean, a million different things. You can talk about the colors. You can name the animals that are in the zoo. You can name the animals that are coming out. You can do the animal sounds. There are also little nuggets that are in this book that are fun. Like there's a balloon that floats away. There's also like a mouse that's stealing a banana. So there are different problems going on that you can talk about and notice and acknowledge, and it's fun. So you can use so many different words within that book. Again, a great way to use core words too. Arts and crafts, that can look different for every child's interest. You can do typical painting, hand painting, finger painting, coloring, drawing. You can make slime, right? If you've got kiddos who love like sensory, tactile, touchy stuff, you can do anything, you know, that they like, and then do what you want with it with colors, sizes. I have a big one, I have a little one. Here are the different colors. I'm gonna make it this shape. The tools that you're using. I have a crayon, I have scissors, I have a marker. You can talk about what you see. You can make, right? You can make or draw something and say like, I made a flower, I made a yellow flower. It smells good. What does it smell like? It smells pretty. Or like particular smells and feels, right? So when you're doing sensory kinds of things specifically, you can say it feels slimy, it feels soft, it feels hard, it feels bumpy. So you can talk about all of those describing words, which really expands craft time from just making something. All right, some more ideas. Watch TV or a movie or videos together. Not all screen time is bad. Okay, so I've had some parents say, well, he's using a screen to communicate, and so I try to limit screen time outside of that. Not all screen time is bad, okay? And if we're being honest, most of us know that kids are motivated by watching like YouTube videos or whatever videos that they prefer, right? Or even watching Cocomelon or Blippi or Miss Rachel, for the love of Pete. Miss Rachel's big in our house. So whatever it is that they enjoy, just because you're watching it doesn't mean it has to be passive. So if they're in the moment where they're like really into a show or a video, join them. Come over and join them in that moment and talk about what's happening. If they let you pause the video, if that's going to cause a meltdown, don't pause the video, right? So I say pause the video, and I know some people are like, I pause that video, we're chucking that iPad across the room, right? If that's going to happen, don't worry about it. You don't have to pause it, but you can just model on the device, again, what you see, what's on the screen, what's happening, things that are scary or exciting or shocking. Talk about feelings whenever you're watching. Just kind of make it more active and less passive. You can cook together. So talk about the steps to cook a meal, talk about breakfast, lunch, or dinner. That's a great way to find where the foods are in the device, talking about ingredients, the kitchen tools, spoon, fork, knife, measuring the different appliances you use to cook. Those are all great ways to explore the vocabulary in the device and find where those symbols are. And talk about the taste. So don't be afraid to try some things, especially if your kiddo is not aversive to different tastes or smells. Try things that are good and bad, because that can be a really fun activity when they try something that's like super sour or just nasty to them that they've never tried before. And they can say, ew, yuck, right? Or bad. And then some that are good, like, yes, I love that. It's good. It tastes salt, sweety, savory, right? Talk about those different words to grow our vocabulary. And then play games. Obviously, we play typical games like with any other kids, repetitive nursery rhymes or movements like wheels on the bus, right? Or peekaboo or patty cake, head, shoulders, knees, toes. Those are great ways to pause in the middle and let them fill in with the word, like we mentioned earlier. Also, hide and seek is a fun one. So if they're, able to run around and play hide and seek, that can be fun. And they can use their device, or you can also model on their device and say, where are you? Find them, which room are you in, and find the rooms in your house. Or if they're not able to run around and play hide and seek, you can also hide items. So if you just put something underneath of a sheet or a napkin, you can hide something under it and then try to guess what it is, or pull it off and then, wow, what is that? And then name it, find it in the device, etc. So we can also adapt for mobility needs too. All right, here's some more ideas. So the next one is clean up. So I know cleaning up is not always fun. Kids don't always love cleaning up, and I don't always love cleaning up. But you can talk about the chores that are around the house. There's no better way to learn the household vocabulary than to do these kinds of things, because then you can talk about each room, what is in each room, what things need to be done in each room. You can talk about where things go while you're labeling them. You can talk about different clothes and where they go, and which clothes are hot and cold, and which ones are night clothes and day clothes. And you can talk about groceries. Groceries are great, or dishes to put away, where they go and why. So you can sort them, hot foods versus cold foods, or pantry versus, wherever you keep, your cans or your other dried perishable items. So talk about that and differentiate where they go. Or like refrigerator, you can talk about which ones go in the refrigerator versus the freezer, and kind of talk about hot, cold, let them feel the fridge, hot, cold, and use those words throughout. The next one is routines. So talk about your day and what to expect. You can literally just walk them through what's going to happen today, and then use the device to say, here are the places we're going, using that category space where there are places. Try to tell them exactly where you're going to go, what you're going to do. You can talk about the weather, what it looks like outside. It's fun to let them look out the window and tell you what the weather is, and they can be the weatherman or weatherwoman. And then purposeful mistakes. This is my favorite tool in speech therapy. Is to give them the wrong thing. So you purposefully control that situation when they ask you for the purple pencil, but you give them the yellow, right? And it's like, oops, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to do that. But then they can correct you and say no, or the correct color, right? To tell you the color, like, no, I want purple, or no, I want this, right? Because it's also really important to teach our kiddos how to say, hey, wait a minute, that was wrong, or no, I don't want that, right? Not only what I do want, but what I don't want. So making those mistakes on purpose can be helpful. Also, another example is give them a fork when they're eating soup, or you can give them a fork for yogurt, whatever it is that doesn't make sense, and then make that like a fun, oops, I got you the wrong thing, what do you need? And then tell you spoon. And then you can also expand it a little bit more if you want, and let them correct you, and then talk about why it doesn't work. So it wouldn't work because, and then talking about that. All right, so we're almost to the point where we're gonna chit chat and ask questions, but before we do, I just wanna quickly mention AAC across multiple environments. So AAC systems should go everywhere. Like I mentioned earlier, they should go home, school, playground, grocery store, therapies. Everywhere your child goes, they should have their voice with them. Another good tip that I don't have on here is to have a different version. So an example of that would be if you have a high-tech AAC device or an iPad, or a speech generating device, to make a copy of the pages. And so your speech therapist can help you with that. We can print them and laminate them, so you have a no-tech version of your device. That can be helpful if you go to the pool or if you're in the bathtub. So that way, obviously our device can't go like in the pool. So in that case, you still have the same symbols in the same organization. They're used to it, but they have a printed laminated version that's safe in the water. So they still have their voice in the water, because just because they're in the water doesn't mean they don't need to communicate. So having those different ways to communicate available can be really helpful. A reminder, only certain team members should be making changes, so we don't have all kinds of different things disappearing and changes all over the place. That can be confusing for your kiddo. And then families can advocate for the use of the device in educational environments as well. I just like to make sure I bring that up, so that if you do have a device, you want to make sure that it's included in an IEP, and that the teachers and staff have training and they're aware of the use of the device. And then the SLPs within the school systems can really help be a support for you, and can help do that training as well. Okay, so before we wrap up and I kind of share the survey and things, I would love to open it to questions, to ask you guys what questions you have and answer. So again, I don't know exactly who we have in the group, and where you are on your journey, but I would love to be able to help if you have any AAC questions. So I'll turn it over to you guys. What questions do you have? You can put it in the chat, or feel free to just unmute and ask if you have one.
I'll get started. Something that I hear a lot is that people are worried if they give their child an AAC device, that that's going to delay them from learning how to talk, or it'll even like discourage them from talking. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the answer to that is just a clear cut. Nope, it doesn't. So AAC does not negatively impact any speech or verbal or vocalization types of development. In fact, research has proven multiple times that it can help to enhance verbalizations. So it's kind of the opposite. Everybody's like, oh, if they have the device, they're not going to use their voice. But in fact, it's complete opposite. So if you're using a device to put together words and make a full sentence, then it's actually going to be another way to model the words. They're seeing a symbol and the written word, and they're hearing it as a full phrase or sentence. And so then it's another model for them to be able to repeat it verbally. Also, research has shown that the reasoning behind that, to just kind of explain a little further, is we're always going to do what's easiest, right? So, and that includes all of our kiddos. So if I am taking, even if I'm really good at my AAC device and I'm able to put something together quick, it's still going to take me like 30 seconds at the minimum to put something together and select it. If I have the ability and the motor planning to use speech, I'm going to do that instead because it's easier. So I don't want to spend the time to go over to my device, find it, put the thing in, and speak it if I don't have to. And so sometimes when kiddos develop that ability to speak and they have that motor, so, coordinating all of our motor movements to speak with words, they're going to do that instead because they're like, this is taking forever. Forget about this. I'm just going to say it. Right? And it might not be the full sentence, but then they're going to speak the word. If it's easier for them, they're going to do what's easier. Hopefully that answers.
It does. Thank you.
Yeah. What else? Other questions?
Do you recommend getting an AAC device earlier in like early childhood, or if you get one, say when your child's 10 or 12, do you see a big difference with age and when introducing the AAC device?
Yeah, this is my opinion. And also, research would tell you that early intervention is key, right? And so getting access to robust, and I say robust meaning we've got a lot of vocabulary available, robust language systems early on is really important. I'm a fierce advocate of the earlier the better. And so I love to see kiddos getting a device when they're birth to 3. If we're noticing that like, hey, we're 1 year old, we're going to our doctor's appointment, we're having a birth to 3 referral, we go through the process, we're trying, from 2 to 3, we're kind of trying to see what's going on. If we notice that there's a need for AAC at that time, it can be so beneficial to start the process of getting a device. Number one, because we've got access to robust language. Number 2, we're learning the device early. So as I'm learning language, I'm learning with the device. And so that's easier for me to use. 3, West Virginia birth to 3 can cover the cost of the device. So great if you can get it, right? So I would rather, that would be great. We have it at 3 years old and bada bing, bada boom, we have it in place. And now we can just use it and grow with it and add more to it. And it's robust. And sometimes I think, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, a lot of times in birth to 3, whenever you age out of birth to 3, you can pick like a piece of durable medical equipment, right? And so you can get a gait trainer, a walker, whatever it is you want. That includes AAC devices. So if a child needs an AAC device and we've already, discovered that and we've identified it, then that could be the piece of equipment that they choose, and then they can keep that after birth to 3. That was a lot. Sorry, I hope.
Thank you, that was helpful.
Absolutely. What else?
I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I am the disabilities coordinator for Head Start. So we cover prenatal up to 5. And there are some families that do not want their child referred. So knowing that we have some kiddos that are, I don't want to say the word struggling, but they are. And if the families are not willing to refer to get their child the support that they need, is there a way that our agency can purchase an AC device without having somebody through speech to do that? to at least get them started?
I have a great answer for you. It's probably not the answer you're gonna want. In order to have an AAC device, like trial, or to try it, I should say, there does have to be a speech language pathologist involved. And that's just the bear of it, is that, you know, it's, in order to get one, in order to have insurance pay for it, in order to, you know, all of the things, you have to have an SLP involved. However, with that, I see that Mandy and Faith are both on here. We have something called WVATS, which is the West Virginia Assistive Technology Systems at the WVU CED, where you can loan there's all kinds of assistive technology in their library. So they have an online library that you can get in and look to see what's available, and you can loan it. So it's like a short-term loan. You just borrow it, you try it out, see how it goes, and then you return it. So there's no insurance involved with that. There's no cost to the families, there's no cost to the professionals. But in order to borrow a speech generating device, a high-tech speech generating device, there has to be an SLP involved. I would say if you have individuals who you think, thanks Faith, the link to that is in the chat. I would say if you have a family member who you feel would benefit from, let's just say, an AAC evaluation, sometimes it might just be rewording it and saying, hey, we would love to, you know, do a speech language pathology evaluation or a speech language evaluation, because truly an AAC evaluation is a speech language evaluation. We just tag AAC on it when we're trying these different devices. But the evaluation itself is truly a language evaluation. And so then it's not as scary, right? And then it seems like, hey, maybe we then can talk and we can really figure out what the family wants and make the decision together, and not necessarily tell them what we think it is they need to be doing, right? We can kind of just talk to them and share the options, and then they can kind of come to their own conclusions about if they want to try it or not. But it's definitely a great idea to utilize that WVATS loan library. If you have an SLP or anybody who wants to try it or have it handy, then they can kind of try that before you buy it, right? Or before you get it through insurance.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Good question.
Next. Oh, sorry. I'll go next. And I apologize if this was already discussed because I came in a little late. But just having experience working in the autism room, in Wood County specifically, we came across a lot of parents who were struggling to figure out what they could do during the summertime when they were using the communication device that the school provides. Because once the school year ends, they can't take that home. So what is
This is what
yeah.
I'm gonna get passionate for a minute.
Yeah.
So this is where, and I saw Michelle in here, and she was in here, I think still, yeah. So last year I went and did a training for a small group of parents about AAC being included in the IEPs and parent rights. And I think I wish that, you know, we could spread that far and wide and a little further. I wish I could tell everybody. But it is, if AAC or assistive technology is identified as a need in the IEP, like as in, I forget what number it is, like box number 4 on page 4, whatever it is, there's like a list of pages, a list of needs. And if it says like, is assistive technology a need? And you check yes, that means assistive technology is addressed somewhere in that IEP. When that happens, that means that this child, for, you know, whatever AAC device it is that they're using, that means that it's theirs. They have to provide it. The educational system has to provide it for the child, and they are not allowed to say, you can't have it in the summer. It is theirs to use. They should have it over the summer. There's no reason that, so follow me on this journey. There's no reason that they should come into school and only be doing AAC with the speech therapist. And then when they leave that room, they're not doing it in the classroom, in the music room, in the lunchroom. It should be with them all the time. They should have their own device. If it's in their IEP, they should have their own device. And right now we're handing out iPads like they're candy. And so sometimes you'll just run into some iPads, which is great. At least we have something, right? So if we have that, then that should be going with the kiddo everywhere throughout the day. And it should be theirs. It should be theirs to use and keep. Okay, so and it is theirs until they're 18, right? So as soon as they graduate, it does go back, right? So once they graduate, the school system can keep it, and then you'd have to explore another avenue. However, while they're in the school system, if that's in their IEP, that is their device.
Thank
am
you so
so
much for
glad.
clarifying that.
Yeah, I'm glad Alyssa asked that, and I'm glad that you clarified that, because in all the years as a PNS, we everywhere we've searched far and wide, we have been told the total opposite, that even weekends they can't take it home, they can't have it during spring break, they can't have it over the summer, that it belongs to the school and they can only have it while they're at school. And if they need one from home, then it has to be purchased, by the parent or the insurance or whatever. But the one that the school provides, the school paid for, therefore it stays there. So great. But I'm really glad to hear that.
I'm happy to find like more specific resources for that to share with you all, with Melina, or share with your whole team, and Tina, your team, and you guys can have it. But yeah, it's once it's in the IEP and it says that it's theirs and they have to have it and they need to use it, it should be going with them, right? It makes no sense to just leave it at school. Hey, you can talk when you're at school, but you can't when you're at home. Okay, that's wild to me. I do also, though, I will say, I advocate when families come to me for an evaluation, if their insurance is going to cover it, then I say, absolutely, let's get you your own device. You don't have to jump through the hoops. You don't have to worry about who's telling you what to do with it and where to take it, and it's yours, right? So I do say, if you can and your insurance is going to cover it, let's do it, right? But if the school system has it in the IEP, and it's addressed, it's theirs.
I am sending a message as I speak because, it was just a huge challenge coming back from summer break and then just obviously seeing them like fall so behind after all the progress that we made during the school year. So again, thank you so much, because like I said, I am messaging as we speak because that's crucial information that families should know.
Absolutely. I'm happy to help share that.
This is Michelle. I've just pulled up an IEP just so you know where it should be located in the IEP. On page 3, under consideration of factors for IEP development / annual reviews, does the student need assistive technology device or services? That should be checked. In addition to, does the student have communication needs? So the second question, does the student need assistive technology? That should be checked as yes. In addition to communication needs, anyone that has speech, the communication needs should be checked. And then on page, also the goals, it should also indicate that access to device. And then on page 18 under services, in the supplementary part, there should be some type of statement that that child needs daily access to their assistive technology tablet device in all settings. So those are the main places in the IEP that should be noted for the use of AAC.
Thank you, Michelle. That's helpful. I was like, I don't have an IEP in front of me, but it's in there. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I think and I know there have been some parents who have asked, and I've walked them through that or told them that, but if it's not in the IEP, that's the thing, right? Like if it's not in there, they don't have to, but if it's in there, then they have to. And I think the advocacy part is making sure the parents know exactly what needs to be in there and then making sure it's done, because then that changes the whole narrative about using the device.
And I'm wondering if that part where it says in all settings,
Yep.
if maybe some parents are running into, maybe it's written different in there and it says in school settings. And then maybe that might be where the barrier is when the school's saying, no, they can't take it home. So that might be something too, is just like, we need to look more at those IEPs. Where's it saying what settings? And, um, try to encourage parents to make sure that it is written as all settings.
Yes, absolutely. You've got it right. Yeah. Any other questions? I always love to drop that bomb. Everybody's always like, "What?" I'm like, "Oh, we can fix that problem." It's not something that that they probably were like, "Hey, everybody, go do this. We've got to buy all these devices." But definitely of the children's, interest, we've got to make sure they have access to their devices. So
Okay, so I have another question.
yeah.
Working here, I have heard how wonderful AAC is over the years. And so then it starts to become one of those things that everybody's like, oh, well, we should just give them an AAC device. Let's grab one from WIVATS. We'll try it out. We can make our own, those kinds of things. Is that okay for us to, who don't know the ins and outs of AAC devices, to just log on and borrow one from WIVATS or go online and download something template and print it out and start trying that? Or is that going to create barriers and frustration because we're not trained in how to do that?
Yeah, I feel like, so for professionals, like as far
Even parents.
yeah, I think, well, when you get onto WIVATS to borrow, the nice thing about it is that they won't let you loan a device unless you are an SLP or have an SLP. So that's one thing, is that they kind of protect them in that way. And the reason is because you have to have a full speech language evaluation and AAC evaluation to determine what's best. I would say I never would discourage a parent from trying to meet their child's needs alternatively. I would never say, don't try pictures, or don't try whatever it is that you have, don't try, I would never say that. I would say, your child best, and you're going to do the best you can to help your child. But I would always recommend, as far as professionals and parents, if you have a concern or if you think AAC might be a good fit, then definitely do the full AAC evaluation, because it's not something that you can make that decision on your own. We're trained, SLPs are trained in it, and even SLPs who are trained in it don't do it. I mean, quite frankly, a lot of people who love AAC and who are in AAC specialize in it and really spend a lot of time in it, because it is extensive, because you've got to know the technology, you've got to know the language, the vocabulary sets, you've got to know the color coding, you've got to know, there's so many different things to assess. And it would be difficult to do, if not impossible to do, with the resources that you have as just as a parent, with stuff that you have at home. And so I think, as far as, just kind of doing it on your own, it's fine to try things out and just kind of see, like, hey, this seems to help. But then definitely get the full AAC evaluation, because there are different things that you just can't know, and you just can't know everything, and that's okay. And I think it also can be sometimes a little dangerous when we assume we know everything our kids want, right? Especially with our non-speaking kiddos who, if they get all excited and they see like a bus, for example, they're like, and they point to the bus, right? Immediately you would say, oh, a bus, you like the bus, right? Or I see a bus, but we're just assuming that we know what they're thinking and they're saying, but we're not mind readers, and we can't assume that. Maybe they're saying, that bus is yellow and yellow is my favorite color, right? Or maybe we're simplifying the language, assuming that they're only saying, I like bus, but really they're saying, hey, I rode the bus earlier and something happened on the bus, right? We can't assume we don't know what they're saying. And so it can be dangerous when we start playing these assumption games of what it is they're trying to communicate to us, and oh, I know what they need or want, but really we're not mind readers. And so having that full evaluation really gives us a big picture and a clearer picture of what it is they need to communicate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I think we were like at time. We're 4 minutes over. I apologize. Thank you guys for coming. I'm happy I could be your first for the speaker series. I appreciate you guys having me. And anybody can ask any other questions they have. Please feel free to ask any questions. My email is available on the first slide, and I'm happy to share. And I also have like, here's my references and resources, and these links and things will be shared with Melina. And I didn't know, are you guys using this survey or do you have a different survey, Allie?
You can use this one. I wasn't sure if you had one attached or not. So I put my one from my other server or my other training in the chat, but they can disregard that and use the QR code one.
Totally fine. I didn't know exactly what you wanted to do, so I just threw it in there.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, so.
Yeah. It might be actually the same link anyway that you shared. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, it's the same one, so you're good.
It's the same. Okay. All right. Well, I really appreciate you, and I hope everybody gained some information about AAC devices. Our next virtual speaker series is on July 1st, and we'll be discussing building your support network with Tina Crook. So if you can join us for that, that'd be great. But again, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Tori, for presenting all that information. And like I said, I hope everyone gained some new information.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
Have a great day.
Yeah.
Bye.